cowboying in Texas, like you got to be pretty strategic, you know? Like, I mean, there's this in the way, and there's that in the way, and there's brush. We don't know what brush is. I love helping people. I truly enjoy teaching, and but when it comes at the expense of your reputation, that's a hard line for me. Don't go for the money. Chris Cox told me this. He said, anybody that you're looking at hiring, if the first question is money, don't hire them.
Welcome back to the Wealthy Cowboy Show. Today we have Lee Olsen on. You might have seen or heard of him. He's huge in the farrier world. He's got his own podcast. His wife is a PRCA barrel racer, and I think he's got a lot of insight to bring you. So, how's it going, Lee?
It's going great. Glad to be here.
Yeah, appreciate you coming in.
Heck yeah.
I wanted to ask you. It's kind of on another podcast that I listen to some, but he always asks everybody, how did you get this job? So how did you get this job of being a farrier?
Well, I guess I just grew up in a ranch in South Dakota, and I've always been around horses. I've always loved horses from a very early age, and I've always kind of been self-employed other than working for my dad, I guess, is all I knew. And then rodeoing, and then training horses, and then I got this bright idea to go to school to be an electrician, because it's a good idea, right? Because you could use your brain, not your back. It's a great idea until you try it, you know. So I went through school, and then I worked for a summer doing that, and I can promise you, no one works as hard as an apprentice electrician. Yeah, I mean, you better like a shovel. And so I was like, this is stupid. If I'm going to work this hard, I might as well get paid better. And being an electrician is cool, but everybody grows through their ranks there. And I did learn something there for my business, but that ended up going to a shoeing clinic to learn how to shoe horses just of my own to save money. And that's a terrible way to do that. But I would not recommend the way I went to being a farrier. But it was good, you know, like I learned how to shoe my own horses, and then we got tired of training horses in South Dakota because of the cold in the winter. And so my wife and I, Jamie, moved to Texas. And I mean, things were tight when we got down here. And we just doing what we could, riding. I was riding outside horses. She is a nurse practitioner now, but she was a nurse then. So she had a job, and we were living out of our horse trailer in the beginning. And I just, with my bucket, shoeing cold, I was a farrier officially.
Yeah.
You know? And what's funny is, like, I had a full business within a year just because I showed up, I was nice to people, I did what I said I was going to do, and I tried really hard, but my skills were really low.
That to me, first, what's the difference in a horseshoer and a farrier? I always called them horseshoers.
Well, they're the same thing, really. A farrier just means you work with steel.
Yeah.
So, that's the thing. That's the gray area. You know, you go to other countries, and it's illegal in England to shoe your own horse. Like, you have to go through this 4-year program and pass all the tests to be able to be a horseshoer. So I'm not a big fan of government regulating anything. Historically, they've pretty much took everything downhill, right? Mm-hmm. But that is kind of a beautiful system, because right now, I mean, I talk to people all over the nation, and they're like, man, I just can't find a good horseshoer. And there are great ones out there, but how does the normal average horse owner differentiate between that? You know, I mean, so you've got good letters behind your name. Maybe you're a certified journeyman farrier like me and my guys are. Well, there's guys that have done a really bad job that are like that too. So now you're like, well, that's out. That's stupid. I'm just going to use this guy that was me when I was younger, right? So it would be great if there was a little easier way for the horse owner. I do feel bad for him, because ultimately what it hurts is the horse, and I love horses.
Yeah.
So pretty much everything I do, every dollar I've probably ever made goes back to a horse. So pretty passionate about that.
Yeah, and getting back to like what you're saying, I mean, it's hard for me to really know, just coming from like a cowboy background, and it was, you know, money's tight, so I'm not getting paid a lot, so I'm looking for one of the cheapest
Right.
guys to come shoe them, which a lot of times, you know, is another kind of cowboy guy that maybe learned from somebody else or taught himself.
Right.
Just kind of knock the high spots down and tack a shoe on.
Right.
And as long as nothing's crippled,
Right.
you know, you just keep rocking along. And then, like you said, is if they show up on time and don't cripple your horses, then you probably have a job for a really long time.
Right. Yeah.
And then if you do get into the more performance stuff, though, like Shady's in the show horses and stuff, and we've kind of shifted into a different kind of aspect of things on the horse side. And then also you get in some crippled horses or something that needs maintenance or corrective shoeing. Then then you're looking for somebody a little bit more knowledgeable, it seems like, and
For sure.
somebody that a vet recommends, or you know, somebody that they help their horse or something like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, getting back, I mean, I think a guy could make a living shoeing horses just by showing up on time and not crippling horses.
Oh, it happens every day, everywhere. Yeah.
That was our deal. It's like, because they do travel to us, but we'll have, 5 to 10 head or something most of the time. And that's a pretty good chunk of money you can come make in one whack. And I'm like, man, just like show up. Like, you don't even have to show up on a certain day, like within a week or two range even.
Right.
Just come do them.
Absolutely.
If you've been to a Western or ag-based trade show, you've probably seen this set up with all the cool toys, and usually a whole pile of kids are playing with them. That's the Happy Toy Maker. The Happy Toy Maker builds toys that relate to our kind of lifestyle. If you're in the Western or ag industry, there's a toy that relates to what you do so your kids can be just like you. Not only are these about the coolest toys you've ever seen, but they're built to last for generations. Check out the Happy Toy Maker on Facebook or go to thehappytoymaker.com to get your kids some awesome toys that your great-grandchildren will still be playing with. And the Happy Toy Maker is now processing payments with us at Diversified Payments.
I do a lot of public speaking, and that is one thing I really enjoy. And one of the biggest requests is business advice. And what I've learned is that horseshoers' problems are not horseshoers' problems. Horseshoers' problems are self-employed problems. It's not rocket science. I mean, you can find it in pretty much every successful book to fix a horseshoer, carpenter, or whatever, you name it. Show up on time, do a good job, make sure like there's little tips, like maybe use this program for this, maybe use these tools, whatever. And then you get into the specifics, crafts of the job, but there's just some basic business fundamentals that will change everybody's life. Like a little self-reflection doesn't hurt any of us, but I mean, show up on time, do a good job. And if you can't do a good job, do the best job that you can do, and then learn something. Then next time you'll do better and better. Mm-hmm. Personal opinion.
When you, going back to when y'all moved, so were you shoeing in South Dakota before y'all moved and kind of riding some outside horses or something? Or?
Yeah, so I've pretty much rode outside horses my entire life. I grew up on a 10,000 acre ranch on the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe Indian Reservation in South Dakota. Great people there. It is a town of 400. If you ever saw Dances with Wolves, it was filmed just close to there. But it's the rolling hills of grass, and it's absolutely beautiful. So cowboying in Texas, like you got to be pretty strategic, there's this in the way, and there's that in the way, and there's brush. We don't know what brush is. Like, you can see something and just almost take a direct line at them.
Yeah.
Like for miles. So it's a different deal, but I love it. But the winters are tough. The last winter we were there, we had 13 days with no power or electricity. My dad has a nice ranch too. We had a generator, but it was just getting the basics. But then you got waters freezing up, and then it's brutal. Like you spend all winter just maintaining, just keeping everybody alive, hoping that you're going to have a good calf crop. So my dad sold Limousine and Angus bulls, sold purebreds for 30 years. And I think I broke his heart because he's like, well, we need to sell some cows. I think he had like 550 females, and he said, I'll keep the best back for you. which is, 30 years of genetics honed down, and then he's going to let me have the best. I said, Dad, if you leave me anything, I'm going to sell them all and buy Corianis. That was the 18-year-old me that was mildly retarded. So, but anyway, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I love what we do. We got 2 boys, 12 and 4, Eli and Trace. And so, yeah, love it here.
It seems like everybody that I've talked to that is involved in the horse industry, no matter where they came from, they eventually they moved to Texas, to central North Texas, the Weatherford, Stephenville area. And I'm sure some of the listeners, the people listen all over the country, and they're probably like, why is it all these Texas people? But that's
right.
That's who I know. So that's where we're at right now. And there's plenty of good people to talk to around here, especially in this industry. But everybody moves. Is that why y'all moved? Y'all were like, we want to pursue this horse deal more. Did you want to pursue the shoeing, or was it more just the roping and all that?
So I used to rodeo, made the circuit finals a couple times in South Dakota, and it completely knocked the wind out of me. We won second in the circuit, second in several amateur associations up there, and the only guy that beat us was Matt Zancanella. And Matt and I were talking, he's a great guy, and he says, man, this circuit rodeo's where it's at. You can actually make money. And we're talking about he marginally beat us, so I ultimately made close to what he did, right? And I don't know what he's talking about. I got $5,000 on my credit card. I got a pickup that my cows pay for. I'm using my dad's stock combo, other than a bar bill and entry fees. I have no debt. And I don't know how I'm going to pay for my credit card at the end of this. And everything went pretty good. What if it went bad?
Yeah.
And you're telling me that going to the NFR is better? I'm like, yeah, I'm out. If this is as good as it gets, then I'm out. But I still love roping, and I like to team rope. And I used to do all the events when I was younger, but love team roping. And it's just, my wife loves to run barrels, and she ropes good. And it's just an easier way of life down here. If you're training horses up there, even if you got an indoor, you still got to go outside, and snow makes everything hard. You're talking about only having Texas people. Well, the fact is, the people around here is, I don't know, a fraction of them are actually only from Texas.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to college at Tarleton in the rodeo team. It was funny to go back and to my small town and my parents and my family and stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, my buddy, he's from New York, or
right.
I was hanging out with this guy from California, or
Oh yeah.
Everybody's from all over.
I didn't answer your question. I apologize. But so that's where I kind of was in life, right? So they're training horses, and it's hard. I got this indoor leased, and Jamie's going to college, and we're making it. But I got the opportunity to work in South Texas for JB quarter horses. And that wasn't shoeing. That was just training rope horses. And man, it was cool. Oh man, we were 9 miles from the water. We left South Dakota in January 1st to go down there. I was just skipping everywhere I went. It was amazing. And we had a deal that they paid my fees everywhere that I wanted to go, and I got to keep all the winnings and ride my own horses. If there was a jackpot that I could get to on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'm talking George Strait fees, U.S. rodeos. I'm just I'm in. And it was good, but all those deals that are working for places like that, they fizzle out. And we moved back to South Dakota, and we tried to make a go of it. And we're just we'd got a taste of Texas was the problem. And we moved back to South Dakota. And then we're like, this sucks. We left, and we moved back down, and we built the place up in Stephenville and sold it, bought it. And then we moved to Brock, Weatherford, and that's where we have our shop now, the Olsen Equine Shop. And so, yeah, that's why.
When you were at that point, like you said, you had your little kit, and you were horseshoer.
The bucket.
What did that look like? I think it's pretty crazy just to how many to speak on how many horses are around Stephenville, Weatherford area, I see the shoeing rigs. I mean, we don't live in Stephenville, but we go through this area a lot and see the shoeing rigs and all these horseshoers and, and I'm like, how are all these guys making a living? And every time you call one, you can't even get on their books hardly if they're any good.
Yeah, exactly.
What did that look like getting started though? Did you go work for somebody or just put your name out or?
Probably should have, but typical form of me, I'm more of a jump in the pool kind of guy instead of walk in. And I moved right beside Ricky Green. And if you ever got the chance to meet him, that is a guy that's smiling down from heaven right now at us. He is an amazing human. He was so good to us, like at his house for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and got to rope with him a lot. Honestly, he's still changing my life now from things that he said. But I guess just connections from getting to know him and then going to ropings and meeting people. And it's kind of interesting, though, because I got literally in the first year, I probably got to a full bucket. And we're talking about using not even a fancy 5-gallon bucket like some people have. We're talking about just a bucket with tools just thrown in there. And I mean, I like my bucket. Defend your bucket, right? This is the only way to do it. Well, I was charging $90 or $100 or something then. I remember talking to my dad. It's like, man, I need to raise my prices. And he said, don't do that. Those people have been good to you. We're talking about $10, right? So I'm like, yeah, but man, I'm working to death. I'm working 6-7 days a week. I like going nuts trying just to stay above water, right? And so I decided how I was going to get to charge more is I was going to get certified. That's how I'll do it. Because no one would literally pay. Because I'd be like, hey, I'm going to raise my price. They're like, we're going to do something else. I was like, never mind. I'll keep shooing them. It's fine. So then we need more horses, right? That's a terrible idea. There's only 2 ways to make more money shoeing horses. It's either do more or charge more.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we're going to charge more. So I go to this AFA certification in Stephenville, and I failed. And it was kind of strange because all my clients will be like, why would you want to do that? You shoot good. Why would you want to do that? It's like, well, mainly because I want to charge you more, but I didn't say that.
Yeah.
But, so I go and I found out I was at a very low level, and it irritated me more than anything has in a long time. Actually, it pissed me off is a better way to say it. I was mad, hot enough to popcorn. And I'm like, I will be a journeyman, because the CF is the very lowest level, because that's basic certification. And then the CJF is the highest certification. And with the CJF, you have to make all handmade shoes, and it's a more thorough written test. And then you have to shoe a horse in 2 hours with handmade shoes to be a journeyman. And you have to make a welded bar shoe in 35. So it's a lot of forging stuff. And I'm like, why would you ever use handmade shoes? This is stupid. And on some levels, efficiency probably is. But I stood in that arena and I told myself, I will be a journeyman. Never made a handmade in my life. And what I did, though, is I reared back. I didn't rope for quite a while. My wife supported me. I got up 2 hours early to study the written test. I'd shoe horses during the day, and I'd get around anybody that I thought was better than me or that could help me, help me. And people are so good, in our industry and just the Western industry as a whole. They just want to help, especially people that want help. So in 2 years, I went from $90 to $250 and just completely transformed my life. Failing was hands down the number one thing, the best thing that's happened to me, besides Jesus and Jamie. But it's unexplainable what you can do if you just dive completely into something. And the saying that winners don't win because winners win not because they never lose, it's because they never give up. And I didn't say that arrogantly. Like when I said I wanted to be a journeyman, what I meant was that I will be here until I am. I will chase this as long as it takes and as far as I need to go. And when you get on that path, and whatever your job is, like I realize not everybody wants to be a horseshoer, but it applies to literally everybody. Like, you want to change your life, start. You want to get thinner, start on a diet. You want to get in shape, start working out. Like, you want little results, work at it little. You want a lot of results, work at it a lot. And our base price is $300 now, and they bring them to us, and we only do haul-ins at our shop. Now I have an apprenticeship program, all the way clear back to a bucket that was complaining about not being able to charge more. So,
do you think it was did you have to bust through a lot of limiting beliefs? Because I hear a lot of people talk about that, and I mean, it has to do, like in our industry, you have to provide enough value to charge a certain amount. But a lot of people will tell you, just, if you want to make more money, raise your prices. And, then those people come back, but I'll lose clients, but this, but that, but this, and argue. And it's like, okay, well, don't do it then if you don't think you can. But usually at some point they'll break through that and realize that they just raised their prices, and some people are going to pay it, and you're going to lose some people, but then you'll get new people in.
DX Trailer Sales is based out of Lubbock, Texas, and it is definitely not just a trailer dealership. If you are involved in the Western way of life, and if you're listening to this show, you probably are, then they have something you need. From trailers for a day working cowboy to a full-time cattle hauler to hay trailers for a farmer or rancher, to arena drags, rope and chutes, and feeders for the rodeo cowboy or cowgirl. They also deal in every kind of hay any of your animals could ever need. Literally anything you need, farming, ranching, or rodeoing, they're going to have something for you, and it's going to be at a super affordable price. Besides all that, everyone you deal with there is super friendly and very helpful. So check out DX Trailer Sales on Facebook or dxtrailers.com and tell them you came from the Wealthy Cowboy Show.
that is such a great question, and it truly does apply to everybody. But here is how it went for me. So I'm at the same point. That's when we have the paper book, the calendar, right? Everything's wrote down. And my number one mentor's from England. One of the best farriers that's ever lived, hands down, Grant Moon. And he told me, he's like, so what's your goal? So what happened was when I didn't have much money, I would bring him over and have him do a clinic, and then I'd split it up between a bunch of farriers. Well, pretty soon I started getting so much value. It was me and my guys only, because it just changing our life with this constant education, right? So he goes, well, what's your goal? I said, I want to work for big cutting accounts, because all the money's in the trims, right? When you go to places. So he's like, where are you going to put them? He goes, your book is completely full. He said, when these people call, they don't want in 6 weeks. They want in right now. So you have to make room for that. He goes, so you just need to get your bottom end and just cut them. Or no, wait. He said, you got to figure out the bottom end and you got to make some room. But in the same time, I was talking to my uncle, Lee Olsen. That's a retired stockbroker. He's amazing, great guy. He told me, he said, I asked him the same question. And he told me, Lee, we're all in the same business. Everybody wants the cheddar, right? Everybody wants the best clients. Doesn't matter if you're training horses, shoeing them, doing anything. So those are the ones that are going to be the best to work for, the ones that pay the most. And the bottom end clients take up all your time and make the least amount of money. So categorize your business into A, B, C, and D. And my uncle Dean said, cut the D's. Just get rid of them. If it makes you feel better, send them to somebody who's starting out or something, but you need to get rid of them because your top end clients are the ones that make you money. Okay, so I took Grant. His method is that I'm not going to quit. You're going to have to fire my butt. I'm just going to keep raising your prices though. So if he didn't like you, he raised you. He sent me one horse and I charged it was a wreck. The pastern was ready to break off. This horse was so bad. And he goes, what'd you charge? I said, $600. He said, what about the other foot? That's just kind of his thought process, right? So I just merged those two thoughts, and now I would advise anybody, no matter what you're doing, if you want to raise your prices, here's the point. Categorize your business into A, B, C, and D. And the A's can be whatever, high prices, whatever, you love them the most, whatever. That 25% of your business goes to A. And then the B are pretty good, C are okay, D are no good. Well, if you raise the D's, if they leave, that's great because you need to make more room anyway. So then if they stay, I mean, I don't know about your business, but if they went up, I don't know, 20 to 40% raise, no, I'm talking about a good raise, not a small one. So you raise those clients, they're no longer a D in my book. They're probably a plus C or a B,
They're
right?
paying for being a pain in the ass.
They are, but then pretty soon, you're like, you bet, how you doing?
Yeah.
You're happy to be there, right? So it truly does work. And then when I teach this, everybody every time says, what about when the D's talk to the B's or whatever? It's like, the only thing I've come up with is that the D's know why they're D's. They do. It's just a fact of life. And you're just taking care of your good business, right? I mean, you've got people that cater to you, that take care of you. Maybe you're a horse trainer and they send you the best horses, no BS. They leave you alone. They pay early. That's an A. That's what I'd do.
Yeah. And I was telling Shady this the other days, and I've had conversations with other people about that. Basically the same thing. Like, I can, even though you're a customer and I want your business, like, I can fire you. I don't have to take your business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it can go both ways. You're gonna pay me to come do a job, but also I can say I don't want to do that job for you. Or like you said, if it's a pain in the ass, I'm gonna charge you double or whatever it is.
Well, exactly. And the other curveball to that, though, is that some people I've decided just aren't worth working for, but that's a small percentage. Like, most of the time, people just want to be heard, when they're being a pain in the butt. So it's like, okay, what exactly is the root problem here? If you can get to what that is, usually most people are pretty good to deal with, but there is outliers. So
What in that, and going from 90 to now 300, do you think, besides just raising your prices, what did you do to your value? Like, did you just start providing that much more value, or did you find customers that you could provide that much value to, or how did that work?
Well, the fact of the matter is that, I mean, just like you're talking about the cowboy shoeing, and stuff, like, there's just so many people that say, well, I won't pay that. Well, great. I can only work. I have 4 apprentices, and they're good. It's a 4-year program. It's ultimately like college. So by the year 4 and 5, and they stay after too. So they get really good, is my point. But those people that are coming to you, no matter what job you have, they're the bottom end people. I mean, no offense to anybody, but they're never going to pay the retail prices. And when you're like a horseshoer like us, you only have so much time. So all we all are doing is selling time. So what's your time worth? So if you're not getting what you want, well, you probably have the wrong clients. No offense to anybody, but it's just a fact of life. Some people will tell you they can't pay that if you're selling pickups. Some people want the Mazda. Some people want the high country or whatever, platinum. So it's, who do you want to work for? And that was the hard part. We'll work for anybody, and we've got some great English clients, before I say this, but I love working for my kind of people. Like, we worked for the owners of Metallic Cat for 5 years. We worked for Clay Volmer for about as long or so. And man, it is cool to show up and shoe horses that you just love to own, right? Like, you're working on Metallic Cat and you're like, this is the coolest horse that's ever lived. Like, I think I guess I still like those cool English horses or whatever, but I just don't get the same thing, so there is a point of happiness too, is what I'm saying to that. So if you make it all about money, you're going to be disappointed, in my experience. So if you enjoy some clients, that's important, but just don't be doing it for free, because at the end of it, what I've learned is that we think we're better friends with our clients than we usually are. And some of them you are close, but you know what happens when you get hurt and you can't train that horse, you can't shoe that horse, or whatever you do. I mean, they might say, oh no, but they're immediately thinking about filling your spot. So that's just kind of the fact of life. Like, you need to take care of your own deal. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of it, like, end of your life, if you've only got this certain window that you're going to work for 30 years or whatever, right? And if you gave away 20% because you're working for your buddies, well, cool. I hope it brought you a lot of happiness, but just know you left that on the table.
Yeah, and I think, you know, even now I've shifted my mindset, and it's not that I've made any money. We're still broke most of the time, but like, you know, your friends and stuff, it's always, everybody wants to be like, oh, what about a friend discount or family discount or whatever, right? You know, and I'm like, you know, I'm not doing that anymore. You can joke with me or whatever. I'm not giving a discount, and I'm not going to ask you for a discount because, absolutely. And I heard this in a book, or read it in a book or something, and he was talking about like your friends and family are built-in customers, so they ought to be paying. They should want to support you more than anybody, so they should pay extra. You know, if they really want to support you, you know,
for sure.
I mean, I'm not going to tell anybody to pay extra, but you can, I mean, leave a tip or whatever, you know, whatever you feel like doing. But I'm over the discount deal, and I want to provide value, but I'm not going to work for free.
You know, that happens to literally everybody. And personal opinion is that if you're going to give a discount, the A, B, C, and D thing gives a discount to loyalty. A, B, and C. You're taking care of them. You're not even. It's selfish because you're not risking them losing them because you're not raising their prices. But you're giving them a loyalty bonus, a discount, you know. So everybody gets hit with the discounts and everybody loves a discount. But at the end of the day, I can tell you this right now. Like, we have a lot of young horses and stuff, and sending horses to horse trainers. I don't want a discount. Actually, I want to be one of your highest paying people because I know what happens. You know, if you're making 20% less on the black over here, well, guess who gets skipped? If there's somebody's getting skipped, the black's getting skipped. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I want people to want to work for me just because I've seen the other side, you know, like I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, that's definitely it. You begin rationalizing. You're like, well, you know, whether you just bumped your prices, like in the horse training scenario, like say you're getting $1,000 for that one, and then all your new ones are $1,200, but you still got this one for 2 weeks at $1,000. And you're like, you just start rationalizing. You know, I've been out here all day, and like, he's doing pretty good. You know, you can probably handle the day off. You know, and they're only paying me the $1,000. You know, and these other horses pay me $1,200, and you know, you start having those conversations, which is just human nature to rationalize. Which hopefully you want somebody with the discipline to just get them all done every day, but you don't want to leave that up to chance.
You probably remember Brad Glenn's powerful story from episode 39. Besides making badass handmade boots, he's the man behind Cactus Alley Hat Company. He comes up with some sweet designs and even has done his own custom caps. Brad truly is an artist, and you can see it in the designs he comes up with. If you're gonna wear a cap, you might as well wear a cool one and support a guy that has come up from the bottom and gives all the glory to God. They can also build custom merchandise for your company like they did for us at the Wealthy Cowboy Show. Follow Cactus Alley Hat Company on social media and go to cactusalleyhatco.com to order your swag.
For the record, I'm not condoning that that's good behavior. I'm just saying that's a fact of life, though. Mm-hmm. And I feel like everybody has a priority in their business. And if you're going to be using somebody to do business with, I'd rather be one of the AB clients.
Yeah.
Because they're just always going to take care of you better. That whole discount talk, like, no one that's ever owned a business enjoyed someone asking them for a discount. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, or you can just raise your prices. That way you can give the discount to what you really want.
Yeah. Right.
Another cool thing I think you've done is one thing I recently learned is the levels of value. So it's unification, where you're using your muscles in your time, or implementation, using your muscles in your time. Unification, where it's manager position, supervisor position. Then you go to communication, teachers, and using your mouth, and then imagination where you're coming up with things to do and
Right.
ways to solve problems. And you've kind of, a horseshoe or farrier is using your muscles, your back a lot. Your body takes a toll. It's going to be limited no matter if you do work out all the time. And then you're getting people under you, which is kind of, you're going up to unification. And then also you're teaching on the communication level. It's kind of cool to see how you transcended. Where did that come from?
Well, anything that I've had success in God should have the credit for, because I didn't come up. I mean, this is too special for me to come up with on my own. The fact is I got really sick of people coming to work for me and leaving as soon as somebody's willing to pay them $100 or whatever to shoe their horse. Right. I love helping people. I truly enjoy teaching, and but when it comes at the expense of your reputation, that's a hard line for me, and that's what we came to. So ultimately, there'd be lots of people that would come to a clinic that I would do. I used to do some clinics, and then other people that would come help me or whatever. Well, they would go out and do something. Well, whether they say it, advertise it or not. I mean, like a lot of people, I've had people go to my clinics that have advertised that they were my apprentice. It's like, whoa, you went to like a 3-day deal, man. Like, but you never get to have that conversation with them. It's always hearsay and after the fact. And it doesn't matter what letters you got behind your name in any business. All we have is our reputation. So I come to this one guy. He's worked for me for 2 years, and he can do a really good job. And this one lady calls me. She's like, hey, I heard I need to bring my horse to you. He's a wreck. Said, okay, well, be happy to work on him if you can bring him to us. Well, I can't do that. Is there anybody you'd recommend? Yeah, call this guy. He can do a good job. So he goes out to the first lady's house, does a good job. Second lady says, hey, I need a horseshoer. Well, you want to use Lee, first lady tells her, but you got to go to him. She goes, okay, well, he's going to tell you to call this guy, so just call this guy. So I never even talked to the second lady. And this guy ultimately cripples this horse, and to the point of standing leg up in a pen for 2 weeks, lame, and takes him to the vet 2 weeks later. And the vet says, who shod this horse? He said, the lady that I've never even spoke to in my life said, a guy Lee Olsen referred. And I said, that's it. I'm done. No more. Because you can really help a young horseshoer, like an older guy, giving them the referrals. But when it comes at your reputation, that was it. So I said, maybe it was from, I think a lot of it had to do with what Grant Moon, he's from England, and I kind of got to know that 4-year program. And then my wife has obviously been in school for a lot of her life. So I said, it's 4 years or nothing. So that's how that happened. And then I've had a few guys that were so good. And surprisingly, a lot of them come from up north. Just ranch kids are the absolute best. It's horsemanship, and I don't even want anybody that comes to us from a horseshoeing school. I'm sorry if you own a horseshoeing school or been to one, but the fact is that they kick out a product that they tell them that they are a horseshoer. And to quote my good friend from 5-star horseshoeing school, Dusty Franklin, one of the greatest farriers in the world, he said, you're not a horseshoer. He tells all his students, you're not a horseshoer. You're an apprentice that's been kicked at when they graduate. That's it. And that's the way that you have to kind of approach life, as a farrier, is like you're still learning. Because they're going to go to a horseshoeing school, and you're going to tell me in 6 weeks you're a professional? You're going to shoe like 1 foot a day for 6 weeks, maybe? I mean, those guys herd a lot of horses, and I think that's an injustice. So when they come to me, they're like, oh, I've been to shoeing school. Can I come for 3 years? I've even had teachers say that to me. So I'm like, man, I'll just take them from scratch. I want good morals, character, and horsemanship would define my ultimate apprentice. And on that note, if there's anybody young listening to this, I would highly advise you, whatever you want to do, whatever, like if it's roping, barrel racing, shoeing, literally any trade, find out who the best is, who you truly want to be like. Go to them and be like, what do I got to do? Can I clean your stalls? Can I clean your barn? How about this? I'll do any job you need me to do as long as you teach me. Because at a young person, getting the skills will change your entire life. You'll get to learn to do a job, any job you want to do. It doesn't matter what it is. If you do it at a high level, you're going to get paid. So the only way to learn how to do it at a high level is get around people that do it at a high level. The only thing I'd question, or I'd warn you about, is make sure that you want to be completely like that person. Because if you believe in Jesus and you want to be Christ-like and this horse trainer or whatever, well, you better pick out one that's a horse trainer that's Christ-like and a horse trainer. Because if you don't really want pot in your life or drinking heavy in your life, or if you don't want to start chewing or whatever all these things are, you're going to pick up all the habits, not just one. So if you want to be a good person and a cow horse guy, pick out a good person that's a cow horse guy. This is my example.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe in that, because who's going to turn down the good kid, show up and be like, hey, I got no bad habits, no attachments, no payments. When I start getting worth paid, you pay me. But until then, I'll work for knowledge. Nobody's turning that guy away. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. You're bringing, I mean, at some point you could be, if you don't know anything, you could be a burden,
right,
in the right situation. But most of the time, a horse trainer, horseshoer, somebody that needs some manual labor, is going to have, or a tradesman, anything with manual labor. I bet they will let you do the manual labor and they'll tell you how to do it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a good trade. I say that a lot. A bunch of people I listen to say that. And going back to who you're looking for, I don't remember who said it, but I also listen to Founders podcast a lot, and he does summaries and reviews of biographies of influential people, founders of big companies and stuff. And I think it was like Rockefeller or something they were talking about, and that's how he was. I want to say it was Rockefeller. It might not have been, but that's how he was not necessarily the skills in that specific area, but just a good person that could learn and do a good job. And they're taking on some kind of big project, and they're looking for somebody to head it up. And this other guy was like, oh, so-and-so, he doesn't know anything about that field, but he's super good. He can learn really fast, and he's going to give it everything he's got. And they were like, okay, let's put him in that role. So he dives deep into whatever that specific thing was, learns it all, and sure enough does a good job.
Absolutely.
And like you said, just the willingness to do the work, to learn, shut up and work and listen, and have good morals, and just take pride is gonna probably get you further. It doesn't matter if you know anything or not. You may remember Mike Morrow from episode 12. The Silver Philly is ran by his daughter, and the whole family is involved. So if you want to do business with a super nice ranching family, check out the Silver Philly Boutique. Especially since we're coming up on the holiday season, guys, you can go find something for your significant other, and also they carry a full line of the Eli Cattleman shirts for men, so you can get yourself a gift while you're there. Go to thesilverphilly.com and check them out, or you can check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And like I said, it's a family-run business, so if you have questions or you're wondering what you should buy for a gift for your significant other, your girlfriend, your wife, whatever, you can ask McKenna. So go to thesilverphilly.com. Also, you can enter code WEALTHY20 at checkout for an additional 20% off.
I think where a lot of people fall short on any of their goals, whether they're young or old or whatever, is me included. And this is one of my weaknesses too, is like, I'm big on motivation. I like doing motivational stuff. I like listening to motivational stuff. It just gets me going. But motivation is short-lived, but discipline, daily discipline. If you can make whatever you're trying to do a daily habit, it's going to work and it's going to stick. I think where a lot of people mess up like me is they get so far into it, they get burnt out. So you got to have that balance, you know, like if you want to work out, well, maybe just work out for 1 hour a day or even 20 minutes or even 15, but do it every single day, something. And just like studying, I tell my guys, like, you don't have to study all night, but study for 30 minutes or 10 pages. You know, I think, what's that Andy's, what's that hardcore diet that he does?
The 75 hard.
Yeah, 75 hard. So I started that last year, and the only thing I learned is I need to be careful what I commit to, because that was during Denver's rodeo, and I got off track on the diet, and there's a lot of things that you have to do, and it was blizzarding and it just wrecked, right? So you got to be in the right spot in your life to do that one. But that was very insightful to me, though. So you have to read 10 pages every day. You got to work out an hour outside every day, and then you have to work out inside for an hour every day, which outside, you can do whatever, and there's no alcohol. And maybe I'm missing something.
I think the diet, you had to diet, but it didn't matter the diet. It just, you had to stick to one.
To a diet, yeah. And you have to take a picture every day.
Yeah.
But when you take a step back from that, let's think about that. You're getting sunshine, you're reading 10 pages of book a day, and you're getting outside, you're getting physical, you're not drinking, and you're on a diet. I mean, that'll transform anybody's life, right?
Yeah, and he doesn't tell you what the workout is, and it's just doing it. And if you go do it, you're probably going to change.
I just think those are just good parts for anybody. Like, you think you're depressed, you know? I mean, all those things probably turn you around.
Yeah, that's Alex Hermosi says that, and this one deal, he says, and specifically for men, if you're a young man, I don't remember if he says in your 20s or it could apply to any young man, but he says getting rich and getting in shape will solve nearly any of your problems.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
I think getting in shape, just like you said, doing something about your body. You know, if you feel better about looking in the mirror, probably going to feel better up here. And it's going to just start compounding into wanting to learn more. There's a reason. If you look at successful people, just like you said, somebody you want to be like, somebody super successful probably takes their health into consideration to some point. They may not be jacked or something, but they're doing some kind of activity to stay decent. They're not eating like crap, and that compounds. They're also learning, and it all kind of compounds together. They're probably, you know, somewhat religious. Just study and listen to that podcast, all the successful people, the books I read, the people I follow in modern times and stuff. It's everybody kind of has the same deal going on. It's kind of who you relate to, but everybody's pretty much saying the same stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's not rocket science.
Yeah. What on that, you said you do some public speaking and stuff. What does that look like?
That's mainly at farrier conventions. There's 2 a year. There's one in Cincinnati, Ohio that I've done a few times. One of my and then the American Farriers Association, they have an annual conference as well. It's coming up in a month. And just mainly those, but I would love to get more into that. That is, you know, like helping people that need help. To me, like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It is so satisfying. And one thing, so we do a lot of driving, right? Jamie, my wife, goes to 100 rodeos trying to make the finals in the barrels. So I listen to a lot of books. So I got to listening to Alcoholic Anonymous book, and I didn't get all the way through it. That thing is massive. But it was so insightful, because one of the biggest things that keeps people from drinking, from my assessment of that book, is helping other people. Like, one guy in there was a drunk, and he said, let's go get the drunks. And so what they would do is they'd go get the guys that were really struggling. So then they're motivational. They're getting somebody, you know, you got up, you climbed up a rung on the ladder, reach down, get somebody else. I thought that was, to me, that was like the whole principle of the book. Like, you want to change your life, help somebody else. I thought that was so cool.
I hear people talk about that, about like teaching. If you help somebody, like if you teach somebody a concept that helps you learn it better and master it more.
100% true. And that's worked for me too. I mean, I know people that say, let me teach you this so I can learn it.
Practice on you a little bit.
Yeah. It holds your feet to the fire, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely tough. Like with Shady, she like wants me to help her with her roping and stuff. And I just realized that I'm not that big of a master of it, I guess, because I'm like, I don't know. You just do it, you know? You just you get up off your ass, get to the front, your tip down, elbow up, and
stick it on.
Yeah. And it's hard for me to break it down. But if you ask Joe B,
right,
he can tell me over the phone. I mean, I don't rope that much anymore, but like when I was roping with him some, I could call him, walk him through a run, or send him a video, and he'd be like, oh yeah, you did this, this, and this. Like, you need to do this and do it this way. And like every little move. And then you're just like, why wouldn't I think of that?
Right. Well, two things. One, I think you're selling yourself short because my buddy of mine, Joe Hub Baker, is a buddy of yours, right?
Yeah.
He was telling me you used to be pretty rank.
I never won a whole lot, but I did go some.
Oh, good. Well, that's awesome. A second thing. So I feel the need to bring this up all the time because there's a lot of people that talk negatively about Joe Beaver. I think that is one of the greatest humans ever. He will do anything for anybody, anywhere. He's just really confident and motivated, and that rubs a lot of people wrong.
Yeah.
So we had these clients years back that they had youth horses, like 4-H youth rodeo type of stuff, right? And they got 2 kids, and they don't have a lot of money, and they need a horse that they can do all the events on, right? So they line this horse up to come try it at my house. And I don't know Joe well, but he shows up there and goes up to the arena. And I've seen a lot of those guys like you probably have. You get to run 3 steers, you're going to score 14, and then you make your decision, right? Or just stuff like that. People are so demanding. Joe literally walked up there, told them to saddle him, walks up to the arena with me. They get up there with the horse, and they're riding this horse, and he's just a cool middle-aged gelding, you know, just like, whatever, man. And Joe's like watching him rope, and he's just talking to me. He's hardly watching him. And they said, do I need to score one? He said, do you want to score one? He said, no. Didn't know if he needed one. He goes, well, he don't need one. So they just rope, and they're like, do you think I could heel one on him? I don't care if you bulldog on him, he said. He's just, I mean, that day, they headed, heeled, and roped calves on that horse in my arena, all within about 30 minutes. Like, and Joe's just, and he didn't stick it in these people either. That's the other thing. Once you make the NFR, it's okay to screw people, right?
Yeah.
So he didn't. I don't remember the price, but it was not bad. And I just feel the need to tell everybody that story because he is so cool. Second one is there's another friend of mine told me a story about Joe that they're friends, right? And they're kind of close. Joe and his wife still send his kids Christmas presents. And even though he rarely sees them anymore, he's like, Joe, you got to quit this. You're making me look bad. You're giving better presents than I do. And then they're like, well, Joe calls and he's like, how's your daughter doing? He's like, well, she's going to college. She's college rodeo and she's got a job. She doesn't really need a job. She's got everything paid for, but she's wanting to make money. And so she's not roping good because she's not practicing because she doesn't have time. Joe literally unannounced swings through that arena, says, hey, what's her name here? He goes, no, but she will be. Says, telling this random dude. He goes, hey, give him this envelope. Joe gave him $1,500 and said, stop working, start roping. That's cool,
crazy.
That's a cool guy. Huh?
Yeah. No, I always enjoyed it. I started going. I was just like starting to rope. I was roping good enough that I was like roping off a horse and stuff. Starting to like enter the junior rodeos a little bit, but not very good at all. I started going to Walter, to Joe's dad, and that's where Joe got it from. Walter was an amazing teacher. And Joe definitely got that, but he got his mom's big personality too.
Right.
Joe's dad was very quiet, just real soft. And Joe's mom be over there hollering too, you know. And Joe's like the mixture of them. But it's pretty cool. He's super knowledgeable. Super. Not everybody that even is a master can teach.
For sure.
That's a whole different deal. You can go win all the world championships and not be able to teach your kid how to do it.
Oh, for sure.
I want to talk a little bit about. We talked a lot about your business, but about the horses, about feet.
Sure.
Have you seen a lot of different things in like horses since you've started doing it? Have the horses' feet changed any? More lameness issues than there were before? Or, I mean, I feel like a horse you don't care about, you know, it's just a ranch horse or whatever. You can, like you said, get a cowboy horseshoer to shoe him and never have a problem. And then you'll pay a bunch of money for one, and all of a sudden he requires corrective shoeing and going to the vet all the time and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, so I've actually wrote a paper on this topic. I love this conversation. Let me ask you a question first. What's your favorite breeding?
It's going to be a cow horse, you know.
Okay, so you got an own son of metallic cat out of a daughter of dual ray, okay? And she goes lame, tears her deep flexor tendon. What do? She's a mare.
They're probably going to breed her.
You're going to breed her? Okay. Well, I would too. I would too. And you couldn't blame anybody that does, right?
Yeah.
So what happens when everybody does that? Do you think it's a random? I don't think, here's the point. I'll quit messing around. I don't think the majority of injuries are on accident. And I don't think farriers ruin them either. The farriers get thrown under the bus a lot for that. They crippled my horse. Well, maybe he didn't help.
Or you get expected to fix them.
Right. Right. Well, maybe they didn't do everything they could have to help him, but they didn't bury him. How about that? So when a horse has a deep flexor injury, you can almost bet the farm they're low heeled, long toe, causing more stress on the deep flexor. Like if everybody's watching this, if you go like that, you pull that, you feel it pull right here. So that's just one occurrence, right? Another occurrence would be, say, like a club foot. I'm not really afraid of much for hoof injuries. Actually, I kind of get excited if we're buying one because I can fix them and then buy them cheaper and all this stuff, right? But a club foot, that's tough. That's a tough one, right? So if you've got a horse that goes crippled because he's got a club foot and all the problems that go with that, well, now you breed that. You're just creating this whole gene pool. So let's look at the total opposite side. Everybody wants to brag on the wild horses, right? They've got these great feet. You know what I'm getting at. So they've got this good feet, and we're going to copy this trim on this wild animal in the middle of Nevada right now on this thoroughbred that's in Florida with these wrecked feet, and it rains every day. Guess what? It ain't going to work. You know why? Because that wild horse, two reasons. One, climate and all that stuff. But every horse, all the way back to Jesus' donkey in that horse's lineage that had bad feet, died. So really strengthens the gene pool, don't you think? Yeah. Like every club foot. I mean, the coyotes had to eat somebody, and the slow one at the back probably was a pretty easy one to pick off, right? Mm-hmm. So natural selection ultimately is why they get that. So trimming those two horses the same are completely retarded. But if you talk to anybody in the NFR that went in the 80s, 90s, even 2000s, they'll be like, we didn't even go to the vet. Like you'll talk to Christy Peterson. I haven't talked to her, but people that I know people close to her, but they say her horse didn't even get injected or nothing. I mean, we're not talking about chiropractors. We're not talking about special shoeing. All those horses. I mean, you talk to Ricky Green, they're like, what vet, what shoes? You know, like, I mean, they rarely shod stuff. Here's my point. How were all those horses bred? A lot of them, they're mares, broodmare bands, like most of them, don't even get trimmed, right? Well, that's natural selection. They're weeding out the bad ones. The ones that are bad are going to get really bad. And pretty soon they get rid of them. So you've got this whole gene pool of horses that whether they knew it or not, Whether they know it or not, I believe they were breeding for toughness, whether mentally or physically or just great conformation. They just didn't have problems. And if they did have problems, they turned them out. And if they came back, they're good. And if not, they never came back.
Yeah.
So you've got all these horses that became studs and mares that were checked all the boxes, right? Well, now we don't do that because we got the best vets in the world that can inject and stick anything, right? We got horseshoeing that can do all this crazy stuff. We got chiropractors that the MRI is hands down one of the greatest things that's come to the equine industry. We don't, instead of the word navicular is pretty much completely gone away. Have you noticed that? You know, like before, like someone would say navicular and I'd be like, hey, the 90s called, they want their diagnosis back. You know, like if you get an MRI, it's like, it's the collateral ligament, it's this, it's that. It's a slight tear in the suspensory branch in the left front. Like they get so specific. So before that all just kind of got lumped in a ball under navicular.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So
that's what my calf horse that I had when I was rodeoing was, he got to where he was having foot problems, one of his front feet, and was tough enough to go, but he pointed it every time he tied him up, and at points he would get so sore that he'd head bob and actually limp some, and so and nobody could say anything. And navicular, or there's just some kind of issue there,
right?
And we put wedges on them, different things, and we just finally just gave up on him. Right. Nobody had an answer how to fix him, anything like that. So he's turned out now and just living out his days. And I mean, he was also getting older, so I don't know that it was really worth, going into it just to keep him comfortable.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, I think now, like you're saying, the technology and stuff is there to probably you could fix some stuff like that.
Trail Ridge Cattle Company is on a mission to make beef jerky like your grandpa ate. Austin Tarrant, who you heard on episode 33, like many of us, loves beef. He's been in the cattle business, he now has a meat market, and has now started Trail Ridge Cattle Company with his partner. Most of us think of jerky as a healthy snack, but if you actually look at the labels of most jerkies in a convenience store, you'd probably be confused as to what all the ingredients are. Austin developed the jerky at Trail Ridge by only using top quality products and not taking any shortcuts in the whole process that lower the quality of the product. If you're looking for a healthy, nutritious snack, check out Trail Ridge Cattle Company beef jerky at trjerky.com. If you love beef like me, you'll want to keep a couple bags in every pickup that you have.
You know what I always wonder though, like Christy Peterson and Bozo, they just got their arena record broke at Cheyenne 2 years ago by Summer Kozel, and then it's been beat a couple more times. But you think about how long that took, how long that horse held, how great that horse was competing with today's genetics, right? And it's the same way in a lot of events. But it's
that's what
I wonder how many horses that just needed their hocks done in the 90s, right? That could have been a great horse, or that went down as a pickle or sucked. Mm-hmm. Because they needed a pad or they needed their teeth done. That's what I wonder.
Yeah.
But that's also why they had Hancocks and Driftwood and I mean the horses that took a lot of riding because they were tough.
Yeah. And they probably got more riding.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the other day Justin Moss was on Flatbed Podcast, and he was talking about, he had several horses a year. I don't remember which horse he was talking about, but he was gone rodeoing somewhere, maybe on the West Coast or something. This horse wasn't sore, never quit working. They were still winning on him, but he got sick somewhere. So he left him at a vet, and then, he was gone rodeoing again. So, but left him at this vet, and he said the vet called, and he's like, hey, have you ever injected this horse or anything? He said, that horse never had a needle stuck in him. And he said, has he been working good? And he said, oh, yeah, he's been working great. We've been winning, blah, blah, blah. And he said, man, this is one of the sorest horses I've ever seen. And I think they ended up injecting him or giving him time off or both or whatever it was. But he didn't even go for that. He went because he was sick.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't know if that was toughness or, what that was. But, yeah, you didn't. I mean, it's crazy because now we do go to the vet more and stuff and all these other things where like dad comes from the old just cowboy stuff. So you kicked them out if they were crippled.
Right.
And, you know, he thinks it's kind of crazy. He's just now coming around and I'm kind of in between of like, maybe like injecting them's not a bad deal.
Right.
So it's kind of, I don't know which direction to go there.
Well, there's a lot of research out there, but the PRP, pretty much anything regenerative, to where you're helping the joint when you're sticking it in there. ProStride, a lot of people are bragging on that. That's stuff that's going to help, because the problem that, in my assessment, is that if you're going to be sticking steroids in a joint, it absolutely will break down the joint. But it does help. So it's like short term. I mean, our opinion, I guess, on our horses is that if they need it, we do it. But overdoing it will cause problems too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where, look into the regenerative therapy stuff, and that's great stuff.
Yeah, we've got one right now that probably going to go get checked out. She just super tough. She's a little cow horse. Betty's a cat, and just a super tough. I mean, you can go all day. She's not but 14 hands, but I mean, I've roped all kinds of stuff, rode her in rocks. I mean, it does not matter.
Right.
And you can't hardly wear her down, and she's kind of wild. And we took her to roping the other day, and the first one run down there, and she's like stung her foot or something. She wasn't right. And Shady was like, if this horse wasn't so tough, I bet it'd be a big issue. But I went and roped 3 more off of her after that. And I mean, she come out of it. I don't know that she worked her best. That probably wasn't her best day, but
Right.
you know, she kept going.
Yeah.
And I think, and when we started her, she was big stopper, just huge stopper. And she's kind of let off of that. So I think we're going to go get her checked out and see what the deal is.
So one thing that Ricky Green always told me that has never left me is that good horses don't stop working for no reason. So that's one thing that's very evident in what Jamie's trying to do. Like the literally hundredths of seconds determine thousands and thousands of dollars. So your horse doesn't have to be lame to have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you got to catch these things early. And that's why people talk about crazy barrel racers and stuff. Well, I'd be a little crazy too, you know, like if you're riding this horse that's worth $500,000 or more, and you're trying to reach your goals, and then somebody doesn't do their job that you paid to do it, whether it's a vet or a horseshoer or whatever, and then you're just spinning your wheels. Where if they figure out what that issue is, like your horse, if you get down to the bottom of it, get your horse back, that's worth a fortune. So I think there's a lot of people like that too, just not barrel racers. But
Yeah.
it is, that is one thing that I find really interesting. You know, like another thing Ricky would always say is that horses can't speak English, but they try. So pay attention. So if you literally watch horses, especially in our business, you know, like we'll trot them and look at them and just kind of try to figure out what's going on. But if you watch a horse at rest, they will tell you so much. Like when nobody's looking, when they're just standing there, they'll let you know what if they're trying to relieve something, get off something. So pretty interesting.
What's one of the craziest things that you've fixed or had to try to fix?
Oh, there's a long list of that stuff. The funny thing about fixing stuff is if you have a little success, people bring you crazier stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I love that though. I get kind of bored with normal shoeing, but it's, it'd probably have to be a prosthetic. We do a lot of work for equine sports medicine and surgery in Weatherford, and Reese Hand and another guy did cut a leg off a horse because it was sad. This horse had a clubfoot and was rotating, and we got it shut down. We did all this special shoeing. Like when a horse has laminitis and turns into founder, that means the bone's rotating. You got to stop it. You need the vet's help to shut their body down to where that's doing good. And then you need the right horseshoer to push on the bone correctly to where it'll hold it in place. And there's a lot that goes to it, right? Well, we did that and fixed this horse and everything calmed down. Everything's good. They take this horse home. It's like $1 million mare or something off the track. And they take it home, don't take care of it at all. And it rotates again through the sole. Like when they come through the sole, they're done. So not this one though. They right there at the fetlock, they just cut it off and it looked like somebody dressing a deer. It was just like done. So I watched that surgery, and then they made a prosthetic for that one, and then we put a heart bar on the other one. But we've done like severed tendons are pretty bad because they'll lax and the whole toe will tip up and it's real bad. So what you have to do is you have to get enough support out the back. It's called a patent bar shoe. It looks like a fish, but ultimately the hoof is there and you pretty much shoe it like there was a hoof behind it, and you pop it up and then you heat it and forge it and bend it and to the angle that you want. And then as that tendon heals, you start letting them down gradually, normal shoe. So I like the crazy stuff.
Yeah. Is that, do you see more and more, like you said, of that stuff, or are you balanced out with just tacking shoes on and trimming?
It's kind of hard because in our business, we're pretty much working on underperforming performance horses. So they don't have to be lame. Some are real lame, some aren't. And then half of them are just normal shoeing that people don't want to have a problem. But a lot of them there's something wrong with them. Like, you got to watch out for this. You got to watch out for this. This has a pre-existing problem. So I'd say that my vision is a little skewed on your question because people don't really bring us normal ones very often.
Yeah. With no problems.
Yeah.
What's one skill that you could attribute your success that you've had so far to?
One skill would be is that in my later years, I bounce everything off God. The second thing is I'm not afraid to look stupid. I'm not. I don't like it, but asking for help. Chris Cox is a good friend of mine, and he's helped me a bunch. And just get around people that know more than you. What Chris helped me with the most with is not horses. It's just business and people, life skills. Like, you get around somebody, if you don't hear nothing else today, like whoever you want to be like, get around them.
That's what, so Cody Porterfield, Matt Mills, and Taryn Rice were on, Matt Miller, and Taryn Rice were on recently, and that's what I kind of picked their brain on. Like, I think when you get to that point, like, it's more of a customer relationship type deal, people business, than it is even just riding the horses.
Oh, absolutely. There doesn't matter what business you're in customer satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
So got to keep them happy.
Yeah. That was something that, when I wanted to increase my income, it was sales, and I was like, man, I'm never going to be in sales. I kept hearing people talk about sales. I don't want to jack with that. And then I heard somebody, Brad Lee, talk about it, and he's like, everybody's in sales.
Every single person.
And his deal is a joke. He says, everybody's in sales. You've been selling yourself short for years. But, he goes to explain it. He's like, you're selling, everybody's selling. A baby's selling it. It's mama why it wants milk. It's your toddler kid's selling you on why it wants the candy, or
right. Why
you're selling your wife on where you want to go eat, or whatever the deal is. I mean, it's all just communication and psychology and dealing with us interacting with each other.
Yeah, I could not agree more.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
What would be something you would tell a young farrier, horseshoer starting out?
Man, just what we just talked about, like, just don't go for the money. Chris Cox told me this. He said, anybody that you're looking at hiring, if the first question is money, don't hire them.
Yeah.
Because you want experience if you're young. Even if you're not, if you're old, like, you want the education. Education is so valuable. And we're not talking about at school. I mean, like, you got to be sharp in business, people skills, like communication courses. I've taken a lot of that in my last 10 years, and that is endless. And business, I mean, you like taxes, business, balancing, investing, like that is an ocean of things out there. And even if you got a professional, which I highly advise, you still need to know a little bit, make sure everybody's paying attention. So I would just say, don't go for the money. Go for the skills, go for the education, get around people that know more than you.
Did you realize that when you were young?
No.
Yeah.
No. I was really worried about rodeoing and having fun, being wild, doing crazy stuff.
That was me also. It was very recently. I'm just turned 33, and probably around 30, I was like, the education deal, the knowledge deal is kind of more important, but when you're young, it's like, I just need enough money to get to the next rodeo or whatever. Right. I don't care about learning anything.
I mean, those
keep your knowledge. Yeah, keep your knowledge. I just want my $100.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I get around my wife, and she's extremely intelligent, a nurse practitioner, and highly trained. And I get around those people, and like I feel insecure about opening my mouth, because it's like, just like my buddy Brad Jackman that we were talking about earlier about the podcast. They're these people that are just, every room they walk in, they're the smartest people in the room type of people. Like, I'm afraid to look like a cowboy that grew up in the middle of nowhere, like, just because being educated, I mean, it speaks a language to people that are educated, that, hey, you know what you're talking about. Hey, this guy knows his stuff. So then when you're trying to be important or sell somebody on something, you look silly when you're up here using the wrong words or whatever.
Yeah.
So highly advise education.
What are your top 3 books that you'd suggest to somebody?
Extreme Ownership. The Bible. And what is that? The Habits book. The
Atomic Habits?
Atomic Habits. I liked that one. I really like Extreme Ownership, and then the second one that he wrote. There's so many great books. From Good to Great is good. There's never a good time to hire a bad employee, and never a bad time to hire a good employee. Even if you don't got room, if you're driving a bus, just get them on the bus. You'll get them a seat later. That's what I'm talking about. Like, you don't have to go to college. Like, if you're older or whatever, like there is information everywhere. Like, you want to learn something? Google it. There's a podcast about it, about somebody that knows what they're talking about.
I've said that before. Like, I've learned more probably in the past few years than I did in the first 20-something years of my life.
Absolutely.
But I'm also in the mindset of wanting to learn, but just getting out there and seeking the knowledge. I don't know how long you'd have to go to school. I mean, learn the basics. I'd say, I'm not telling anybody to not finish school, but like, I would say like 5th grade. After that, you could go learn a trade or read books, and learn more than you would going to high school or junior high, I would say. And YouTube is a huge one. Several people that have been on here, and I'm like, where'd you learn how to do this? YouTube. From computers to riding colts.
Stephanie Fryer is a barrel racer. She's super funny. She's been to the finals, but she tacks her own shoes on. I was like, how did you learn how to do that? She goes, I watch it on YouTube. She says, if it's on YouTube, I can do it.
Yeah.
But I do kind of somewhat disagree with you on the high school thing. I do think you need to be able to write a paper. You need to be able to draft things and be educated. But I do think they waste a lot of time in high school on stuff that you don't need. Like the calculus. When was the last time you used calculus talk, right? But the one thing that you do learn by doing that stuff you're not going to learn is how to learn hard things. So it's not a total waste.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know that I even learned that you memorize it enough to pass the test or do good on the test
right,
anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know, it's changing so much now that like our world is going to be completely different with our kids pretty quick, because with AI, first off, when I was in school, we didn't have smartphones that you could
Right.
Google everything. So now there's no reason to memorize anything. And especially with AI, I mean, it's just going to get faster and faster, easier to ask AI, hey, hey Siri, or whoever it's going to be
You could have it
called.
in your watch.
How can I shoe a horse or whatever? Who can I call? Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. You're going to have feedback like that.
Oh, yeah.
So everything's changing so fast.
Absolutely.
What are you listening to? You listen to podcasts or you listen to a lot of audibles?
Both. I listen to a lot of audiobooks and just try to be growing.
I think that's where I came up with this. That was all I consumed was podcasts, and now I've ventured into the audiobooks because I've caught up on all the podcasts that I like.
Yeah.
But yeah, just going down the road all the time in the gym.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of those podcasts, I mean, they're truly great. Like, I like the stuff Huberman does, because like the problem that I've seen in the farrier industry is that a lot of it's anecdotal, meaning this is true because I saw it, right? This is true. Well, then, like, I'll say something like that to my buddy Brad Jackman, and he'll be like, well, actually they did a study on that and that's completely wrong. So it's like, well, all right then.
Yeah.
So it's like, I like to listen to people that know their stuff. So I don't know, just good stuff.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite restaurant?
Well, so growing up on a ranch, we always had our own beef, right? And you know how that is. It's always better. And my wife is amazing at cooking steak. And I know the guys are supposed to do the cooking, but she can nail it. Literally 100 out of 100. Like warm pink center, bam, done. So I'm a ribeye connoisseur, but I have a hard time going out.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't care what you charge for your ribeye. Like, it better be better than my wife's, or I'm getting a burger.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like Del Frisco's, and it was my wife's birthday the other day, and we went to the Brazilian steakhouse. Just, I don't know. I love, like, growing up in South Dakota, every decent sized town has a cafe that you can get the steak, you can get the eggs, you can get the sale barn type of coffee, and a huge salad bar, at least as big as this table,
Mm-hmm.
So I love a good salad bar and a steak. So wherever I can get that.
It's home cooked food, basically.
Yeah. Texas Roadhouse is actually surprisingly hard to beat.
Yeah.
Like, they have a good steak every time, which sounds kind of cliche going to a name brand like that, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Several people have said that. It's consistency, I think, that wins.
You know what I find extremely interesting about Texas Roadhouse, though, is they opened that one in Weatherford, right? And everybody's having troubles getting good help a couple of years ago, right? And especially waiters and waitresses, right? They just barely opened, and I don't know where they brought them in from or what they did, but literally everybody in there was a great waiter and a great waitress. We got to go in there a lot. And their business structure to me must be truly amazing, because everybody knows their job. I get to the point now, sound like an old man, but I really enjoy watching people that are good at what they do. It doesn't matter if it's a bricklayer or a horse trainer or a restaurant.
Yeah.
Like Chick-fil-A's model, what? Like, they're like slinging chicken. They, like, if they took it all in cash, they'd need a bus outside of everyone. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I don't understand the waitress and waiter deal. I always thought, I was like, this is an awesome job. Like, you could go, like, if you go to a decent place like Roadhouse, something that's a higher ticket place, you can make good money. And like we talked about, being a good horseshoer, just show up on time, be nice to people. It's not that tough. don't come to my table and be a dick to me, and you're gonna get $5 or what, whatever
and then
it is.
wonder why you don't get tipped.
Yeah, and then they just get mad, go to the next one, go to the next table, do the same thing, and it compounds. Whereas if you would just, whatever you're going through, if you would fight through it on the first table, you're probably going to get paid pretty decent, and then the momentum would carry you through the night, and
absolutely,
you'd have a good night.
It's kind of like the make your bed speech.
Yeah, just
Small victories.
Just do it. Just do it. All you got to do it. Well, where can somebody reach out to you, and whether they're interested, they need their horse shod, or interested in becoming a farrier?
OlsenEquine.com is a good place to do all that and everything you need to know there. But I got one thing. Do you got a second, or do we need to end this?
No, you're good.
So I've been struggling for the last few years on, I really feel like God wants me to do something different. I was like, well, I'm willing, but I don't know what it is, right? So I'm just like patiently waiting, right? Well, so then Jamie and I go up to this rodeo Bible camp in South Dakota, in Kadoka. A man named John Kaiser runs it. And I went when I was young, and I heard that they're having troubles getting help. And it hurt my heart because it's such a great place. You get to learn rodeo, get to learn about Jesus. It's a great deal. It's fun. So we went and we helped for that reason. And when I was there, I was like, well, this is good, but I can't help but think it could be done better. So then pretty soon I realized that this is what I want to do. I want to do a rodeo Bible camp. So I just tell just a couple people. And this thing explodes. Within 2 days, Pete Carr is all in. He's bringing all the bucking horses, all the stock. And he said, I'd really like to have somebody there to fix everybody's equipment, because that's the biggest problem with young rough stock riders, right? And then the other thing is you'll kill them off because everybody wants to bring colts, right? Well, Pete's actually going to bring all the older seasoned stuff. And then, I'm on a men's Zoom call that they all pretty much got behind it, but we got a board of directors. We're actually creating a nonprofit, and because that's how you have to do it legally to do it right. Like you can't just go have a rodeo Bible camp. Mm-hmm. So all these people are getting behind it, and the goal is to have a rodeo Bible camp in Weatherford, Texas at Parker County Sheriff's Posse Arena over Memorial Day weekend. And the Sheriff's Posse is behind it. There's people everywhere getting behind it. It's gaining a lot of traction, and it's really exciting. Like Stevie Hillman, Ty Hillman, Isaac Diaz, Brittany Diaz, Jamie, Junior Nagara. And that's just to name a few. I mean, Strand Smith, I bet I can get Chris Cox there. That I am so excited. And I feel like that's one thing, that just can't be overdone. And pretty excited.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah. Do y'all have anything up yet on signing up for it or getting behind it or anything?
No, we're working through it right now. That is one thing that, it's hard to realize when you're going to do that and you got good intentions, and then you find out that how much work that it takes. And I think that it's kind of sad because it costs a lot of money to start it and it hinders people, but I don't know. I'm just doing whatever God wants. I think it's going to turn into a big thing. It's called the Western Legacy Project. And we really wrestled with that because it's like, well, what do we name it? Well, we want to leave a legacy in the Western industry, and it's going to be a project. Mm-hmm. But cool stuff. Hopefully it grows into more things, but that's what's on our radar.
Cool. Yeah, y'all go follow Lee on social media, and I'm sure you'll be posting about that and keep everybody up to date on it.
Yeah, check out easiest way to follow us is Olsen Equine on Facebook or YouTube. We put a lot of stuff on there about shoeing and horses and just life.
Cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. We'll see y'all next time.
A mastermind has the sole purpose of getting you further, faster, and that's exactly what we're doing with the Wealthy Cowboy Show Mastermind. It is for the person that's ready to start out building their business or someone just looking to get their business to the next level. We will have live Q&A calls that you can ask past and future guests questions that relate specifically to you. You'll also hear ideas and be able to network with people that could open you up to a completely different way of thinking that could change your life. Click the link below if you're looking to go to the next level in business and in life.
You may remember Mike Morrow from episode 12. The Silver Philly is ran by his daughter and the whole family is involved. So if you want to do business with a super nice ranching family, check out the Silver Philly Boutique. Especially since we're coming up on the holiday season, guys, you can go find something for your significant other, and also they carry a full line of the Eli Cattleman shirts for men, so you can get yourself a gift while you're there. Go to thesilverphilly.com and check them out, or you can check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And like I said, it's a family-run business, so if you have questions or you're wondering what you should buy for a gift for your significant other, your girlfriend, your wife, whatever, you can ask McKenna. So go to thesilverphilly.com. Also, you can enter code WEALTHY20 at checkout for an additional 20% off.